Welcome to Red Light, Green Light, the podcast where you'll hear from industry leaders in science, technology, and innovation about the power of strategic storytelling. With decades of experience, our guests will share their own insights and real-world stories to help you avoid red light barriers and ignite green light solutions, from the Zoom room to the boardroom. In each episode, we'll corkscrew downward into the guests' personal experiences of challenge and success, highlighting strategies that turn complex ideas into clear, compelling storylines for stakeholders. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately to drive the vision of innovation with your team. Here is where expert minds share stories that shape the future. What's more, you'll walk away with tips to try immediately that drive the vision of innovation with your team. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to another great edition of the podcast, Red Light, Green Light. I am your host, Cindy Skalicky, and we are just excited today to bring another wonderful guest into your ears and eyes in terms of innovation and persuasion and pitch communications, especially. Our guest today has a ton of experience in these orbits and is from my alma mater, the University of Georgia. So today we have Derek Eberhart. Derek, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so great to have you here, Derek. You and I have had some really great conversations recently. Everybody, Derek is the Associate Vice President for Research and Executive Director of Innovation Gateway at the University of Georgia, which is in Athens, Georgia. And this is special for me today, of course, because I earned my master's degree in communications with a focus on rhetoric from the University of Georgia, literally at the turn of the century. I think it was exactly, this is scary. This is a scary realization I'm having just right now. I started classes almost exactly 25 years ago, like today. I remember calling my dad on his birthday, Derek, which is August 14th, from the bench outside of Terrell Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, I'm actually sitting in Terrell Hall as we speak. So.
Are you really? You are not. Oh, that's so fantastic. Well, Derek, I could go on and on, but thanks for being here with us today. Tell us about yourself and your journey to UGA and to the work that you do there now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me as a guest. It's always great to talk to a fellow Bulldog. So,
yep, exactly.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I lead the Innovation Gateway team. So it's part of the larger University of Georgia Innovation District.
Okay.
The mission of Innovation Gateway specifically is to move inventions to the market, really trying to ensure that UGA research discoveries reach their full potential for public benefit. And, like many people in the field of university technology transfer, that wasn't my career goal when I started out.
You're kidding.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was such a thing as university technology transfer. Initially I was pursuing an academic research career, really focused in on my interest in genetics.
Genetics.
As a student at UGA, I actually studied poultry genetics.
Really?
Before shifting to human genetics during my PhD work at Emory. And it was really during my postdoctoral fellowship at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital that my focus began to change away from sort of pursuing an academic career. I remember going to the cafeteria at St. Jude, and it was shared by the patients and their families and the clinicians and researchers, and it really just sort of seeing the courage and determination of those kids, as they're battling cancer, but also wanting just to be kids.
Yes.
Kind of really reinforced the importance of translating research discoveries that were occurring in the lab. How do we turn those into products that benefit the patients?
Boom. Right there.
And it's just in a faster way than it was happening. And so While I was there, I was able to be part of a project that developed a new mouse model for a type of pediatric brain tumor known as medulloblastoma.
Okay.
Actually, the most common form of pediatric brain tumors.
Okay.
And that model has since been used to test new therapies and new treatments for brain tumors. So
really?
that was
Wow.
exciting. Yeah.
That's
to be able
very
to
exciting.
contribute to that.
Congratulations on that. Yes.
Thanks.
That's really
And
exciting.
then, I really, at that point, was trying to figure out sort of next steps and had an opportunity to join a startup company in Texas.
Okay.
And was really intrigued by the scale at which the company was going to be able to identify new drug targets and develop novel therapies. And it was far beyond the scope of what I would have been able to do sort of as an individual researcher or even part of an academic research team.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really at that place, Lexicon Pharmaceuticals, that I gained experience in the business side of science.
Okay.
Not only learned about drug discovery, but also intellectual property, licensing, business development.
Yes, all the things.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn.
Fast forward to UGA, came back to my alma mater and really have been able to leverage that industry experience along with scientific training and doing my best to help enhance our innovation ecosystem.
Yes. Wow.
We've had success here. It's exciting. I'm, proud of what we've been able to accomplish.
Yeah. How many years
built
now?
on the compelling research of university faculty, staff, and students. So just in the last 10 years alone, we've had over 550 new products based on UGA research that have come to market.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And as a fellow alum, I know you'll appreciate, we like to talk about how do we benchmark and compare with other universities.
Yes.
So for the past 3 years, UGA is actually ranked #1 among all U.S. universities for new products coming.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yep. Mic drop. That's fantastic. Congratulations, Derek. That's a really amazing career journey and arc. And I can see immediately how helpful your varied expertise is for the researchers you work with at Innovation Gateway. And I just want to level set a little bit with any listeners who might not be real familiar with TTOs and this industry that comes out of the academic halls of our universities, because just like you, Derek, I did not understand where a lot of new products came from in the research lab. And it was fascinating to me when I figured out and learned more about this area. And as you know, at On Point, we help a lot of the innovation labs at TTOs and in commercialization labs at universities or government labs. We help with training them up on those executive communications and pitch skills. And I love that work because, yes, it's really an opportunity to harness the brilliance of the researchers out of the lab who come to you and say, hey, Derek, I've got this amazing idea, this concept that now we've researched, we've beta tested it, and let's just throw an example out there of we've got a way to make the, Invisalign molds in half the time, just throwing an example out there, right? Because we found a new material that we can use that'll make it cheaper and fast. And then your job is to help that individual figure out, is this commercializable? Is this something you can create a new product line out of, and then who would buy it potentially if it grows, and all these things that lead to the products you and I use today. It's remarkable. And it's the quiet, I think, at least, it's kind of like the quiet engine that a lot of people aren't really even aware of in the regular ether until you've had a chance to meet some of these brilliant minds who are hard at work in the labs. So I feel it's a privilege to work with these kinds of brilliant leaders. And I'm sure you have many stories of just being so impressed over and over again.
No doubt. And I think, the way I see our role is really serving our researchers because they have got a lot on their plate. Obviously, they're running research labs, but they're also teaching classes and kind of preparing that next generation of innovators. So what we try to do is handle the intellectual property protection and then, like you say, connect with companies who might want to license that, or more and more these days actually helping to start companies around those new technologies. So partnership with the researchers. Yes.
I mean, there's just no end to the levels of support and the types of support that a leader needs who's really good at science, for example. They don't have an understanding yet of intellectual property or licensing or creating a business strategy or pitching to investors. So, in the work that you and I have talked a lot about, where we dovetail, it's that communication skills piece. So let's think about that together and talk about some of those like red lights and green lights that we talk about on the podcast. And for our audience members who are maybe new to us, the gist of our podcast around the stoplight system is it goes like this. When you're in front of an audience, they're looking at you kind of like you might be a red light of risk when it comes to how that idea is being articulated. And your job as the speaker, if you're the speaker on that stage, your job is to figure out, how can I move this audience from the red light of risk to the green light of go on my idea as smoothly and beautifully as I possibly can. And so, in my work with innovators and speakers, pitching investors especially, we've tackled that problem by creating a model called the how-to model, which I won't go into a lot of detail right now about it, but it's in the book that I just published that is now a bestseller, which is really exciting. Red light, green light, how top leaders present with polish, get buy-in, and become more influential. So Derek, tell us a little, in your experience, having watched probably thousands of pitches, what are some of the red lights that the founders hit, the barriers they hit when it comes to, getting that smooth message across? What are those?
Yeah, as you mentioned, most of these kind of new fledgling entrepreneurs are coming out of research labs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think probably three red lights that I see typically. Okay. Number one, they use scientific jargon and they use too much technical details.
Yep.
I think what happens is it comes from their natural tendency to kind of shift back into their comfort zone, which is relying on their training to do scientific presentations. So you get comfortable with the science. I think the second one is they really don't take time to know the audience. Like, what does the audience care about? Like, what are the key things that this audience is going to be clued into? And so that's an important thing. And I think third is they typically don't have a really clear, concise message. And so their key takeaways tend to get buried in all the technical details. So I think those are kind of three things that we see fairly often. Yeah.
I like the way you said the third one. Takeaways are getting buried by all the details. So when people leave the room, it's like, what did you gather from that founder? It's like, it's kind of muddy, right? It was not very clear. So really common, right? Yeah, that scientific jargon, wanting to show the expertise and your own muscle of the research, right? And then absolutely putting yourself into the shoes of your audience and wondering, what is their understanding of my idea? Maybe if it's Invisalign or whatever the thing is, right? They may be very familiar with my idea or concept or the problem I'm trying to solve. They may have no idea. It might be outer space, concepts or brain tumor. A lot of people don't know a lot about the brain or the heart or so you have to educate and orient, which is the second letter of the how-to model. O is orient me. So orient me. Tell me what we're talking about here. What's the sandbox that we're playing in? So, okay. So scientific jargon, not knowing the audience well enough, and then having kind of not great takeaways for the audience to pick up. What have you found helps them, Derek, get audiences more to that green light feeling? Have you found certain strategies that you have hit on that work well?
Yeah, for us, it's really, when I think about an effective speaker, somebody who's really able to capture the audience's imagination. And I think a lot of times they do that by sharing their why. So really describing what it is that fuels their enthusiasm and their passion.
Yep.
So the personal why, but then also the why of this project, this company. Like, what is the key point here? What are we tackling? What is the unmet need that we're addressing? So I think, something to capture the audience's imagination. And then I think authenticity for me really resonates. So somebody who's sort of presenting from their personality, there's no artifice. They're not sort of seeing themselves on the stage playing a role, but there's like, this is who I am, and this is the problem I'm tackling, and this is how we're going to go about it. This is how I need your help.
Yes.
So I think that authenticity really resonates with audiences.
Huge. Can you think back, Derek, to any particular person or event where somebody just hit it out of the park and absolutely nailed it, and what was happening in that person's ethos or message or some crystallized story?
Yeah, I mean, one example that comes to mind is somebody who actually started out in our student entrepreneurship program, which is a sister program with Innovation Gateway, but has really evolved with her idea, which it's an individual named Ashley Galante. And so her why is that her brother has epilepsy, and so and her mother also has some challenges with seizures, and so she wanted a way to detect when a seizure might be coming on so that they could intervene, and really told it in a powerful, personal way. And the concept was, how do we, they have dogs which actually are great at sort of detecting when a seizure is coming on by actually smelling some, organic aromatic compounds that, that the body's emitting. And so she's like, how do we turn that into a sensor to do that? And so it's been great to follow her story. So it was really a powerful story to start with, but didn't have the technical skills yet to turn it into a product. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to go get a PhD in engineering.
Love it.
And so she's in the process of doing that, and she's developed a prototype, and she's going to spin out her company. And so really just, she has tackled that full force. And, I certainly am intrigued to watch her journey. For that.
That's so admirable, because that's in a lot of what I've experienced, and maybe you too, Derek, like the reverse order, right? It's like, wait, I found a problem I deeply want to find a solution for, not only because it's personal to me, but because I know how many people it will help, because I've done my research on the market and how there's nothing out there right now for this, right? So I'm going to go get a PhD, which is no easy task, my friends, right? That's actually, and then the investors, when they hear that, and they know she's put not only skin in the game, I'm sure financially, but, from her own, time and attention to the PhD piece, that's formidable. What a beautiful story.
I'm sure you know this from your time, Cindy, working with entrepreneurs. The investors are looking for the right team.
Yes.
They want to believe in the people.
Yes.
And it's oftentimes more important than the actual technology is the team around.
Right.
So
we can always hire the technologists who might be have a gap, there might be a gap on the team. We can hire those folks, but to have that leader, the stakeholders are investing in the leader and the promise that he or she brings to the effort. And can people follow that leader? Can people get behind the inspirational message that leader is able to consistently share with others? And how versatile are they with their ability to learn on the fly, learn new things, and take feedback? All these qualities are really important for leaders. No, that's a great story, Derek. And just for our audience, now that I've got like a use case here with Ashley, is just to quick demonstrate those 5 letters in the how-to model. Let's imagine Ashley on a stage, right? The how-to model is painted so that if we're sitting there watching Ashley, we're going to ask Ashley as audience members to go through all 5 letters of that how-to model and say in our own minds, okay, Ashley, H, hook me, get my attention at the very start of your investor pitch about this idea. The second letter is O, orient me to what it is we're talking about. And that's where Ashley tells, I'm sure, a very powerful short story about her brother, and helps us understand the need for this new technology. The W in the how-to model is win me over, meaning, okay, Ashley, do you have a solution? What's your thing? What's the thing you've got? Oh, it's a sensor that's specific to blah, 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 right? And then moving into the word to, the T is tell me more, Ashley, tell me more, like all the things about the sensor, how it's built, does it work, where is it tested, what's the market size, the financing, how are you going to get this going? And the final letter in the model is O for offer me, which is like your ask, right? If we're sitting in the audience, we're going to say, okay, Ashley, offer me something I can do. Maybe it's another conversation. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's both in line with where we're heading next. So that's a quick 1-2 punch on how the How To model is powerful for these founders. I love that. Derek, when you think back, I got a couple more questions for you. When you think back to others who have inspired you, we were just talking about inspiration. When you think back to people who've inspired you on your journey, who comes to mind? And would you mind sharing a little about that person?
Yeah. I've certainly benefited from support and engagement from many people through the years. I mean, my PhD and postdoc advisors were key mentors. But I think, to answer that question, I'm going to go way back to my high school biology teacher, Nolan Floyd, and he was really instrumental in fostering my interest in science. And so I just remember his enthusiasm and just his obvious, intellectual curiosity was really something that inspired me to pursue a career in science.
That's great. That's so great. I love that. Intellectual curiosity and enthusiasm. Those are things that all of us can hope to pass on to anyone who is in our orbit, right? I mean, when I ask that question, I always bring it full circle, right, Derek? Like, I'm sure, and I know that it's true. You are bringing that to your people in your orbit every day, because look at the success that UGA is having around innovation and the productivity of the ideas coming out of the institution and the innovation lab. That's remarkable. And it's, I feel proud to be,
It's the best part of the job. I often tell people, you never know sort of what new invention is going to come across your desk, and just the fun of engaging that, everything from a new poultry vaccine to a new therapeutic to a software program to a virtual reality system to new plant varieties that benefit the agricultural community. So it's a lot of fun.
And you're always learning about areas that you don't have special, that's one of the reasons I love what I get to do, is I see so many different types of pitches and types of businesses that I would never have otherwise learned about. And I'm constantly learning, and it's so much fun. It keeps me young, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's a prerequisite for working in this field, is just that curiosity and the willingness to stretch beyond, your sort of scientific training to really embrace lots of different fields and learn about those.
Yes, for sure. Derek, you mentioned earlier, I want to talk about UGA and kind of what you're all working on and how your organization and the center, the Gateway Innovation Center, is built, if I'm using the right terminology there. But you mentioned there's a student, that's where Ashley kind of began, is in the student innovation groups and such. So what are the tiers, or what's the pathway, and what is built around innovation and for whom right now at UGA?
Sure. Yeah, I think for us, it's the Innovation District, as is what I think of as the umbrella around innovation at UGA. And the goal is really to help more people, commercialize their ideas and inventions. And so there are two main student programs. There's something called ENTR, which is student entrepreneurship, and they offer both a certificate in entrepreneurship for undergraduate and graduate students, but also run a number of competitions and accelerators. They have an investment fund. There's also a program called Student Industry Fellows Program, which is part of the larger experiential learning program at the university. And that is a way for students to take some foundational courses really around human-centered design thinking, and then apply to be a student industry fellow. It forms a pool of students who then can work with industry partners. You have projects where they want to engage students. So that's the student side. Innovation Gateway is primarily focused on kind of deep tech and faculty startups, although we work with postdocs and grad students and occasionally undergrads who have something that's really intellectual property intensive and need that assistance. And then the other element of sort of embracing kind of the role in regional economic development, in addition to sort of helping startups and IP and licensing, is the Office of Business Engagement. And that is really all about connecting industry with the expertise of the university. And that might be helping them identify and hire students, and maybe sponsoring research or accessing core facilities within the university. But really, how do we help those companies partner with the university to solve the challenges?
I love that. So you've got like this umbrella, student centered, and then you've got some faculty researcher centered stuff, and then community regional efforts as well to continue that.
And the other element of that is the Small Business Development Center, which has an office in Athens, but has statewide, I think, 18 offices. So if you kind of pull back big picture and look at UGA's working with startups, last year we assisted as a university 650 Georgia-based startup companies.
Wow.
Across the state. And really, if you look at the companies we assist and help start, 3 out of 4 of those are staying within the state.
Well, that's great for the state of Georgia.
It's really that land grant mission that you're familiar with UGA, and really that regional economic development and growing that impact. It's a big push for the university.
That's fantastic. What is ahead, Derek? Boy, it sounds like you've got a lot going on all cylinders, which is so great. What is ahead between, 2025 to 2030? What's on the docket?
Right. Well, it's exciting to see the growth of UGA's research enterprise. So last year was the first year we exceeded $600 million in research and development expenditures. So just the productivity and the growth of faculty-led research is impressive. And so the way I think about that, that's the sort of top of the pipeline, the engine that feeds innovation. And so, we've had a lot of success in growing our startup program, because traditional tech transfer back in the day, you file for a patent and you license that patent to an existing company and they developed it. But, it's more and more important to help support startup companies who are going to be able to de-risk technology and move it further down the pipeline. That's really necessary because of the evolving innovation landscape. So we've grown our project pipeline from 38 startup projects in 2015 to 196 this past year.
Wow.
And so, we've done a good job, I think, of scaling that pipeline, but how do we make sure those companies have the resources they need to really move forward, to scale up, to, graduate from our incubator? At any given time, we have about 25 to 30 companies actually incubating on campus. Incubator space.
Fantastic.
And so,
do you have a wet lab? Do you have a wet lab at UGA?
We have about 30,000 square feet total. So we have wet lab space, we have office space, we have co-working space, we have a prototyping center where they can engage in getting prototypes for their minimum viable products. And so I think, how do we make sure we've got the talent, the entrepreneurial talent pool, management talent for these companies as they move forward? And then how do we make sure they have access to the capital they're going to need? We're fortunate in Georgia to have Georgia Research Alliance, who provides seed funding for kind of ideas coming out of universities.
Okay, great.
And we have the SBIR, STTR federal funding program. But then that next step of angel venture capital investment, or how are you making sure that they're ready for that, which feeds right into the work you're doing, obviously. And
well, and I was about to say, in the work we often do, we kind of work in both circles, right? We do a lot with those entrepreneurs in the earlier phases as they're moving up. But then I was just thinking right now of a chemicals company, a global chemicals company that I just trained up the senior leadership team for. And they have grown a lot due to acquisition of so many smaller companies and the very ideas and product lines that you're starting at UGA. So it's like this meeting in the middle where now these larger companies, the Googles and the DuPonts and the Microsofts, they are looking for these new technologies that are coming out of research. Then they might acquire them or partner or license them. And then they often need help learning how to create that cultural overflow or bridge the divide so that they can be assumed into their product lines. And that's what a startup founder would really like, right? Is to be bought for millions or hundreds of millions of dollars by these really large companies. And often the end goal, because that's true scaling and really having the impact that they dream about from the back of the napkin idea, right? And so do you have some of those corporate partnerships too, Derek, when it comes to how those in the Southeast, and I'm just thinking like Coca-Cola or some of the larger brands that live and are headquartered down there?
Sure. Yeah, we actually, one of our main facilities in the district is called the Delta Innovation Hub because it was renovated in part through a gift from Delta, and they engaged in sort of that innovation aspect. And then the Truist Foundation made a gift. It's Truist as a bank. And so they wanted to help community entrepreneurs take advantage of some of the programming. And so we started their Truist Community Innovation Initiative. Georgia Power is contributed and partnered with us on innovation initiatives. And we've had alums who've wanted to give back and seed some things like our Faculty Innovation Fellows program, like that. And another big way that we see companies getting involved is as mentors to some of our startup projects, because we want them to understand, like, what is the real pain point that they're addressing, and talking to people in the industry and making sure they understand that, this is not they tend to get technology focused and not really think about the end customer and making sure that it's,
very common, right? Because that's just
mentoring. And then obviously, we have companies that are interested in seeing things coming out of the university. A lot of times they want them to be more mature than they might be emerging from the lab, which is where those startups really fill that gap of advancing those technologies down the product development pathway.
Fantastic. Well, as I sit here, and if we both were to hold up kind of mirrors, Derek, I think it's kind of ironic and humorous, right? I look at myself. It took me a few years to figure this out, but I realized that I kind of commercialized in my own way rhetoric outside of the halls of academia, which I learned at UGA. And I feel that's a pretty unique way to commercialize a different type of intellectual property, right? But honestly, the how-to model is partly due to the amazing education I received at UGA, and was able to, over time, commercialize a new trademarked process out of that in the how-to model and in the book. And I'm sitting here listening to you, Derek, thinking about how you help everybody with innovation, and you're growing these great, like pebble in the pond, these wide rings outward. And you yourselves, you on the leadership team, have to think also, how are we scaling? How are we innovating as the innovation center? So who helps you do that, Derek, when you all sit down in a room and go, what's next for us? It's hard to see inside your own fishbowl, right? So how do you all help each other see outside of that?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate on our team to have people with broad experience, from industry and lots of different industries. And so, we feel like internally we have a strong team, but then we also want to benchmark and talk to individuals who are working in this industry, both through the academic side, but also listening to our industry partners, like, what do they need? What do they see as upcoming challenges? And so we have a meeting that my office organizes with all of the Southeastern Conference tech transfer directors.
Oh, fantastic.
Once a year. And it's part of a larger meeting that's sort of Southeast regional meeting, but we like that smaller sort of, the 16, it's grown, the SEC school.
Yes, it has.
To sit around the table and we have agenda topics, but it often kind of moves into around, just sort of a free flowing conversation where we really get to hear creative programs that others are coming up with. It's also,
great.
Misrating in some ways. Yes, we face that challenge too. I mean, so it's been I think we've done it now for 14 years, I want to say.
Wow.
So it's been something that has brought a couple of projects out of it. Like Vanderbilt has taken the lead on a Southeast Venture Summit showcase. And so that was held the first time here in April in Nashville. And we had companies from lots of different SEC and Southern universities. And I think they attracted over 100 investors. And so, we're helping kind of collaborate and solve those problems together that we see, and just share, lessons learned and potholes to avoid.
Right. Get rid of avoid the red lights, get to the green lights, right? Well, and you probably have to hold those kinds of meetings when it's not a football Saturday for everybody.
Correct.
How you manage those pieces.
Yeah.
No, that's an exciting place to be, Derek. It sounds like there's just tons of energy, and it's a great time to be in a space where innovation is happening at the pace it's happening now, with technology growing and changing so fast that we can hardly keep up with it. But all the more reason to stay curious and stay motivated. Is there anything that you have not had a chance to share today, Derek, or any thoughts or tips maybe for early folks who might be curious about this journey? What would you like to share?
Yeah, I think, in terms of the messaging piece, I think it's, really clarity and simplicity in your messaging. And then don't forget to include the why. Like, why are you doing this? And why is it important? Those are things I think we try to emphasize.
Yep. And that is a great way to land the proverbial plane here, Derek, because we talk at On Point so much about head and heart as the balance. And we have to have both. And we typically would like a speaker to start with heart and then take us into the rationale and the reasons. And that all comes right out of Aristotle, the founder or the originator of rhetoric itself, who kind of penned the definition of rhetoric and the 3 keys to persuasion, right? Ethos, pathos, logos, credibility, emotion, and heart, or why, and then head, the how and the what. And so those are the 3 keys we usually kick off with when we talk about these concepts of communications, and they really date back to centuries ago, as most good things do. Well, where can people find out more about UGA and your innovation center, and what would you like to share with others?
Sure. Yeah, we've got a strong web presence. Innovation District has its website, and then you can link to the different programs. You can also go to the Innovation Gateway website. Shoot us an email, gateway@uga.edu. One of the things I love about tech transfer is it's just such a open community. Universities don't see themselves as competing with each other. They see, themselves as sort of benefiting society. So we're always glad to talk to people, point them in the right direction, and
that's great.
Do whatever we can to help. Sure.
That's great. Compete on the SEC football field.
Yes, exactly. We do want to compete on the football field and the other sports fields for sure.
That's right. That's so wonderful. Well, Derek, thank you for joining me today. This was a wonderful conversation, as I knew it would be. We're recording this right at the start of the school year, so I wish you all the very best for a wonderful 25-26 school year. And I know we'll be back in touch again soon. Look forward to seeing what UGA brings to the world through the innovators like Ashley and others that are under your tutelage throughout the year, and seeing what you bring next to the world. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity, Cindy.
Yes.
Enjoy the conversation.
Yes, likewise. Thanks everyone for listening. Please make sure you share this episode with others in your orbit. And don't forget to tune in again next week. We always drop episodes on Fridays here at Red Light, Green Light. And make sure to find your way to Amazon to pick up our best-selling book. Until then, we'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day. Get out there and find someone you might be able to turn from the red light of risk to the green light of go. Take care. Bye-bye.